Hello, everyone. I'm Sabi Barnes, seashell mystic, seashell yogi, seashell shaman, and seashell alchemy teacher. And today we're going to be talking about seashells, their power, their healing properties, and the magic that they carry. I have been working with seashells at a conscious level for over 13 years, and really I've been working with them since early childhood. And even though I've studied many different healing modalities, many different forms of magic and high magic, many different ways of accessing higher dimensional energies, my absolute favorite way is working with the seashell spirals. And so I'm going to share with you 22 secrets of seashells today in this video. The first is that seashells are the crystals of the sea. They spring from the salt of the earth. They're formed by the rolling spirals of ocean waves. They are created from the heart of the earth on our planet that is spiraling around the sun, and in our solar system that is spiraling around the Milky Way galaxy. When you study astronomy, you find out that more than 77% of all galaxies are spiral shaped. And it's very possible that the others were, and then they kind of spread apart. So the spiral is a key to the formation of life. It's a key to the material world. Spirals are everywhere. We're talking about the sacred geometry of spirals. All plants grow in a spiral formation. We have spirals in our body. We have spiral whorls on our fingertips. We have spirals in our hair, the cowlicks. Some people have really curly hair. My daughter does, lots of spirals. We have spirals in our DNA. Our DNA is shaped in a spiral. As above, so below. So our galaxy is a spiral, and we're made of spirals. We also have beautiful spirals in our ears, the cochlea. I encourage you to Google pictures of the cochlea. See if you can find a picture of the actual organ, not just a drawing, but the actual organ is gorgeous, beautiful spiral. So everything in creation is made up of spiraling energies. Spirals are how we move through life. As we evolve on our spiritual path, we find out that our timeline is not a straight line. It seems like it with past, present, future. But really, our timeline is a spiral. And we keep coming around often to the same experience, but at a new level, at a new level, at a new level. We move through it faster. We understand it better. Soon we get to a higher level where now we're teaching others. So I want you to understand that it's the spiral energy that is at the heart of the power of working with seashells. Ultimately, when you learn how to do the work that I do, you don't even need the actual shells. The shells are kind of a stepping stone, kind of like the training wheels on the bicycle. But once you learn the energy of the shell, then you can put the shell itself down and you can harness that energy in a very powerful way. So that is the first secret of seashells. Secret number 2. Seashells spiral us through higher dimensions of consciousness. There are many different words for this. So some people use the word dimension. Some people use the word realms. You could think of them as higher realms. In each realm, in each higher dimension, at each higher level, we're talking about levels of consciousness. At each level, we have new knowledge, new understanding. Often, we have new abilities. In the higher dimensions or the higher realms, we have new abilities that seem quite miraculous. because in these new levels, the physical plane laws are actually different. And seashells are a wonderful way to access these new energies, these new places and spaces within ourselves where these miraculous abilities all of a sudden are easy. All of a sudden, what used to seem like it wasn't possible now is possible. And this happens as we go deeper and deeper and deeper into the spirals of seashells. So, seashells take us in three directions. They allow us to spiral up. So, we're spiraling. We always have a choice. We can either spiral up, we can spiral down, we can stay stuck. If we stay stuck, eventually we're going to start spiraling down. So we want to always be growing. We always want to be moving up, up, up. And I'm not saying be ungrounded. I'm a very practical mystic. So I'm not saying be ungrounded, but I am saying keep expanding, keep going up. So the seashells teach us how to spiral up to new higher levels of consciousness. They also teach us how to spiral deeper, 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 deeper within ourselves, deeper within the truth of who we are. And they help us spiral wide, wider, 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 so that we gain greater impact, greater spheres of influence, that we have a greater influence on the world around us. Not in a way that is manipulative. So the seashells do not allow us to use them for manipulation. We only use them for the highest good. We only use them for healing. The word healing means to make whole. And the seashells help us become more and more whole of whatever we're choosing to be whole with. So, see, we get a confirmation. The bells are ringing. So we maybe want to be whole with a higher level of awareness. The seashells will help us with that. We might want to be whole with a deeper understanding of who we are. The seashells will help us with that. We may want to be whole with a wider sphere of influence in the world in sharing our gifts and sharing our knowledge. The seashells will help us with that as well. And they have a wisdom all their own. They understand far beyond what we know. So even if you think you need to spiral up, they might take you deeper within. You might want to spiral wide, they might take you up. They're going to take you where you need to go. The energy is going to carry you wherever you need to go as the next step on your journey of becoming more whole. So that is secret number 2. Seashell secret number 3. Seashell power is fueled by divine grace. Grace always knows where to go and what to do. It always knows what do we need. And even when we aren't sure, it knows. And it gives us exactly what is needed, which may not be exactly what we asked for. But we end up being happier because we got what we really needed. So grace is all about the energy of allowing. The seashells never use manipulation, never use force. If you try to use force or manipulation with seashell energy, it will not work. It will just shut down. And then it'll work on you to get you out of that desire to control and manipulate. Seashells teach us how to allow. They teach us how to go with the flow. And they align us more and more with the universal law of divine grace. And the universal law of divine grace says that basically it says grace trumps karma. That when we fall into that flow of grace, when we're living a life of grace, all karma is cleared. We're no longer stuck in the world of cause and effect. So that's partly why the seashells take us so far so fast, is because they get us aligned with divine grace. And then the grace takes us out of that cause effect world of karma. And now we can create what we're really wanting to create for ourselves and for others. So that is Seashell secret number 3. Seashell secret number 4. Seashells have amazing wisdom. The spirals of the seashells have deep, deep wisdom that goes far beyond our human comprehension. And they know when we need more energy and when we need less energy. So as we're working with them, they have a natural understanding, these spirals have a natural understanding of when to fill us up with something new and when to drain away the old, tired, non-beneficial energy. And we don't have to know. We don't have to understand it. We just allow the seashells. Again, there's that word allowing. We allow them to do the work. And they do it very gracefully. So there's not a lot of upheaval after a healing with seashells. It's very gentle. It's gentle. It's easy. It's graceful. You won't have heavy processing after. You won't have to relive the old pain or be flooded with all of the painful old memories. It just carries out the old non-beneficial energies, brings in the new supportive energies. And it's super, super fast, faster than any other modality that I have ever experienced. And I've experienced a lot of different healing modalities. So that is Seashell secret number 4. Seashell secret number 5. Each type of seashell brings through a very specific type of energy. So I know a lot of people who work with the energies of spirals, and what they're doing is not specific, it's general. But when you work with the very specific seashell that helps with balance, or the very specific seashell that brings through self-love, now you're allowing exactly what you want to come through. So all of the people that are working with the spiraling Taurus, that's very, very general. It's wonderful work, but it's very, very general. But when you can get the center, the heart of that Taurus to spiral in the exact right spiral of a certain type of seashell, now you're creating an energy field that is going to magnetize to you whatever you specifically are asking for. It's going to bring through the exact type of healing you're asking for, the exact type of magic that you are asking for. So each seashell carries a particular vibrational frequency. And for example, an abalone shell has a very different energy from a queen conch shell. They each have different purposes, different uses. Much like in the crystal kingdom, we use an amethyst for one thing, and we use a citrine for another purpose. So the seashells, they bring through the spiraling, graceful, allowing energy in very specific, targeted ways. And that is Seashell secret number 5. Seashell secret number 6. Much of the time, the seashells are working with us in a way to wake up energies that we already have inside of us. We had these energies in us. They just were dormant, or they weren't as awake as they could be. They weren't as empowered as they could be. So as we choose a very specific shell, see, you already had the capacity for that energy because the energy was already in you. But the seashell brings you to a whole new level, wakes it up, or maybe it had gone to sleep for lifetimes, but it was in you, and now it's going to wake up. It's going to wake that energy up. So again, the key is choosing the correct seashell to work with. When you land on the right shell, because not all seashells are exciting to you, probably. You've even had that experience when you were on the beach. You were walking along the beach and you saw a bunch of seashells on the beach, but you didn't pick up all of them. Or even if you picked them up, some of them you put back down. Only certain ones made it into your pocket or into your suitcase. And those special seashells that we have, we keep them for years. I know people who have seashells that they have had since they were children, and they treasure them. They're special treasures because there's something about that shell that speaks to that inner part of them. And the more they play with it, the more they look at it, the more they gaze at it, it wakes that part of them up. And that's why they keep it and move it from one house to another house to another house, carrying it with them. So many of the energies that the seashells, the gifts that the seashells offer, are energies that we already have, but they bring it out of us so that we can really enjoy that energy that is in us. So that is seashell secret number 6. Seashell secret number 7. Sometimes we have an energy inside of us, but it's all tangled up. It's all convoluted. And so we're really stuck with that energy. And so that's one of the things that the seashells are really good at, is they untangle the spirals that are inside of us. They untangle our spirals so that we can flow gracefully with the energy that we're choosing. And so I always think about when I was a kid, my mom liked to talk on the phone, especially when she was cooking dinner. And so we had, this is back in the old days where we had a spiral cord on the phone. And she would stretch that spiral cord across the kitchen, and she'd be talking on it and walking around, and then she'd hang it up and it would get all twisted, all kinked up. And I made it my job always to untangle the phone cord. And that image of that tangled up spiral cord, because when it was all tangled, you could barely move with it. You were stuck. You couldn't get very far. She couldn't get across to the stove when it was all tangled up, all bunched up. And that's what happens inside of us. We have an energy in us. We have the capacity, but that capacity is all tangled up, all twisted, and it's got us stuck. And we cannot move forward with that energy. And that's what the seashells do, is that they untangle what is inside of us so that we can flow easily and gracefully and continue to spiral up and spiral deep and spiral wide. So that is seashell secret number 7. Seashell secret number 8. Sometimes the seashells give us something new that we didn't have yet inside of us. And this has been a big part of my journey. I have spent the last 13 years cataloging the metaphysical properties of seashells. In the beginning, I started out and I just had 11 shells, and that was enough. That was so much. I had so much I could do with just those 11 shells. But then more kept coming, and they kept coming. And over the years now, I've cataloged more than 300 different seashell energies. I've identified their energy, and I've cataloged them in a book and in my classes. And sometimes I'll talk more later about the creation process of this work and how the seashells started coming to me. But sometimes I have a seashell for many, many years, and I don't know what it does. And I have to be ready. I have to be ready to receive its teachings. So like I have one shell that I've had it for probably 12 years, and it only just started talking to me. I finally am ready for its energy. And so that's a sign that I didn't have that energy in me before, but now I was ready to receive it. So, usually in the beginning, you're going to work more with the ones that are untangling what you have inside of you and the ones that are awakening what you already have. And then when you get to a certain level of readiness, then you can open up more to the ones that you didn't have. And remember, the seashells have a wisdom all their own. So even if you have a shell, it's not going to wow you. You might pick it up and just think, there's not much energy here. Well, that's because it's not the time. But then maybe 2 years later, you pick it up again and you're like, whoa, there's so much energy here. Well, that's because now you're ready. You're ready to receive the energy that it has. So that is seashell secret number 8. Seashell secret number 9. Seashells work through our DNA when used properly, and that is the key. You have to know how there's a special way to work with them so that they will penetrate that deeply and really activate the DNA. And when you learn how to do this, what'll happen is your energetic strands of DNA, which are more than your 2 physical strands. We have many strands of DNA. Some people say we have 12, some people say we have more than 12. I've heard somebody say we have 144. Those strands, they're energetic strands, and what they do is they'll run through the seashell spiral. When that seashell connects at that deep level with the DNA will be pulled through that seashell spiral. And in the process of being pulled through, now certain light codes turn on, certain light codes turn off. So like let's say that we're working with the seashell spiral for forgiveness, and you get to that DNA level because maybe you come from a family where people really had a hard time forgiving and everybody held a grudge, and that was not only your environment, but it was actually anchored into the DNA to hold a grudge. And you're at a place in your life where you've been working with the forgiveness shell, and you're like, hey, this energy of forgiveness, that's pretty nice. I like this. Now you're ready to go deeper, and you know the technique for how to reach into that DNA level. And now those energetic strands of DNA are going to start flowing through the spiral of the forgiveness shell. And as the DNA is pulled through that spiral, the light codes for, first of all, the energetic coding for holding a grudge gets turned off. And the energetic coding for forgiveness gets turned on. And now you're doing healing not only for yourself, it's a very deep healing that you're doing for yourself, but you're also doing healing for your whole family lineage, for 7 generations forward and 7 generations back. So the healing is really big. That's a way to be of service to your family. That is seashell secret number 9. Seashell secret number 10. Seashells are great for balancing the chakras and for enhancing the chakras, for healing the chakras. Our chakras are spirals. They spiral. They either spiral clockwise or counterclockwise. On a good day, they spiral clockwise. On a bad day, they spiral counterclockwise. So when we work with seashells on different chakras, they get those chakras spinning the right way. And in that way, they enhance your chakra energies. Again, it comes down to choosing the correct shell, right? Because which shell are you going to put on which chakra? Well, you have to kind of have an understanding of what the very specific seashell types do and what that particular spiral will do. And then you get your chakra spinning in that way. And it's a very, very powerful healing. And not just healing, it's empowerment. It's empowerment for your whole energy body. So that is Seashell secret number 10. Seashell secret 11. Seashells are great for waking up and empowering our Kundalini, which spirals from the base of the spine, spirals up and around through the body. It spirals around 3.5 times. We see this movement of energy depicted in the medical symbol of the caduceus. And the seashells are an easy, fast way. When used correctly, that's the key. You have to know how to do it. When used correctly, they can get that Kundalini up in a split second. It's fastest, easiest way I know to raise the Kundalini anytime, anywhere. That is Seashell secret number 11. Seashell secret number 12. Seashells act as very powerful vortex portals. So let me first of all talk about what a vortex is, and then let me talk about what a portal is, and then let me tell you what happens when you put the two together. So a vortex brings energy in, takes energy out. We've talked about how the seashells can bring energy into the body, take energy out of the body. That's what vortexes do. Some people travel the world going to power places. I live here in Hot Springs, Arkansas, where we have some powerful vortexes. Of course, people know Sedona as a powerful place for vortexes. But what if you don't live near a vortex, or what if it's not convenient to get to one? Well, seashells are amazing vortex generators. And there's a specific way to stretch the energy of a seashell so that it turns into a powerful vortex. In the form that you find it on the beach or in a souvenir shop, that seashell is just a teeny tiny little baby vortex that you're probably not going to, be able to do a whole lot with in its tiny little physical form. But there is a way to expand that vortex and open it up and make it as big as you need it to be. My work, I teach people all over the world, and I activate them. I give attunements, I give downloads, energy transmissions, whatever your word is for initiations for that. But I do this with people long distance, and it's because I can stretch that vortex so big that it reaches them across the planet. And I can even teach them how to be able to open up that way themselves and be able to teach others. So that's a big part of my work. It goes beyond having the small little physical shell. The small little physical shell is the beginning, but there's much more, and it's creating vortexes. Now, seashells also serve as portals. And a portal is a little bit different than a vortex. Vortex moves energy. Portals move people, objects, things, information. Sometimes it's information that's coming through the portal. And so the portal energy, when you work with the seashell, it has that wisdom all to itself. So it knows when to behave as a vortex and when to behave as a portal. You don't have to tell it. There's nothing you have to do. You just have to know how to open up big enough to let it come through at that level. And so what happens when you work with the seashell and it behaves as a portal is that all of a sudden the right person shows up in your life, the right book, the right information. Often for me, I'll work with the seashell and then boom, there's an email in my inbox with somebody talking about the exact thing that I was just wondering about. And there's the answer I was looking for. And so much of the time it's free, which I love. It's like, sign up for this free class, and it's got the thing that I was just trying to figure out, and I couldn't. Sometimes it has to do with technology for me, how to do this or how to do that with technology. But anyway, so that's the portal energy. So I have a really good portal story with seashells. I had a friend who had a she had a tumor on her neck, and it had been there for years. She had gotten it checked out. They knew that it was benign and it wasn't a problem. But over the years, she had been to all kinds of different really powerful healers. And sometimes it would go away a little bit, but then it would always come back. And so she just had this ongoing thing, and she didn't worry about it too much because it wasn't causing a problem. But then it started to grow, and it was growing inward, and now it was pressing on her carotid artery. And it became a problem because whenever she put her head down like this, she would pass out because it would press on that carotid artery. So now it was dangerous. Now it was a problem. But the thing is, she did not want to have surgery. She was adamant. She did not like Western medicine. She didn't want to deal with doctors. So, it was a problem. So I gave her some of my seashell cards, and she tied them around her neck. I have, like, on my website, you can go and look, and I have these seashell medicine cards, and they have expanded seashell energies in them, bigger than what you get from your shell that you find on the beach. It's a special process I've done with these cards. So she took the cards, and she used a scarf, and she tied them around her neck, and she slept with them that way, and she just walked around her house with these seashell cards attached to her neck. And after a few days, that portal opened for her. And she was driving home, and she passed a doctor's office, and it wasn't even her doctor. That was the thing. But she had the thought, I wonder if I could just stop in there and see how it feels, see if I like the people, feel it out, maybe set up an appointment with the doctor. And so, I mean, that right there was a miracle. If you knew this woman and how adamant she was that she was not going to a doctor for this. So she goes in, and here's the thing, it's like the waters, like the Red Sea parted for her. Because she walked in, they had just had a cancellation. They had an opening right away. That does not happen here in the US anymore. To be able to see a specialist like that right away, I mean, you can't just walk in off the street and have that happen. But it happened. She had instant rapport with this doctor. Totally trusted her. The doctor wanted to do surgery. She was about to go out of town. My friend was about to go out of town. The doctor could arrange for the surgery to be perfect so that it would not interfere with her travel plans, and she could get it done before she left on her trip. It was like everything just lined up. All of the pieces in the physical material plane lined up for her because that portal had opened, and it put everything she needed right in her path. And it worked as a vortex because it cleared out her resistance to working with the doctor. And she had that surgery. She never had any pain. It was the easiest thing for her. She was done, no more problem, and she got to go on her trip and have a wonderful time. And that is how the seashells can work as portals. They have a wisdom. They know when to be a vortex, when to be a portal. There's a universal law that says that energy follows the path of least resistance. And so sometimes the energy of least resistance is for a new energy to come in or an old energy to leave. Sometimes the energy of least resistance is for a portal to open up and the right people, the right book, the right website, the right email. Like my emails, when there's an email I'm supposed to look at, it lights up like a neon sign in my inbox because that's the portal energy putting it right in my face saying, open me, I have the answer to what you were asking. So that is a wonderful quality of seashells, and that is seashell secret number 12. Seashell secret number 13. Seashells can act as stargates when you know how to access that deeper, more powerful energy of seashells. There's a very special method, very special way to open them up so that you can access the stargate energy. And this is my favorite way of working with seashells because the Stargate energy brings energy in that is out of this world. It's beyond what we're used to. And a lot of times, especially for star seeds, if you're a star seed, you know it. If you're not sure, go Google starseed and find out what that means and then see if you are one. I tend to work with a disproportionate number of star seeds and because it takes one to know one. And so the Stargate energy is often the thing for the star seeds. When the star seeds are struggling being here on Earth, when you open them up to that star seed energy, oh my God, now they have clarity. Now they can function at a whole new level because that out of this world energy is coming into them again. So that is Seashell secret number 13, which happens to be my favorite. Seashell secret number 14. Some seashells can connect us with parallel universes. Now, it's a very special type of seashell, and you really have to know what you're doing to work with this energy because it's possible that you can get stuck somewhere that you don't want to be, and it's possible that you can not know how to come back. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I just know from experience. I've had the experience of being lost in other universes, and it's not fun, and I don't want that for anyone. So it does require very special training, and you have to absolutely know how to be grounded, how to be centered, how to stay in your body, and you pretty much have to love being here on Earth already to do well with the parallel universe shells. They're a very special set of seashells that work with the parallel universes. So, for some of you, that might be a really wonderful thing for you to learn how to do. For others of you, just know that it's a possibility and just kind of put it on the back burner for now. But that is Seashell secret number 14. Seashell secret 15. Seashells embody a harmonic resonance that is a very specific vibrational frequency. So we know this as kids, right? What was the first thing we did? We'd have a seashell, we'd pick it up, we'd put it to our ears, we'd listen, we thought we were hearing the ocean, but that wasn't what we were hearing. We were hearing the harmonic resonance of the vibrational frequency of that specific shell. And as you become more and more sensitive to energies, you will eventually be able to even hear that harmonic resonance of the tiniest little shells, even if you're in a really loud, crowded place. So for me, the seashells sing. They sing to me. They sing to me all day long. And it's just so joyful, such a joyful sound. Working with seashell energy enhances any kind of sound healing that you might be doing. One time I was at a big expo in New York City and I had a booth and I was doing my seashells, and right across from me were the people that had those beautiful crystal bowls with all the gemstone, the different colors and the gemstone energies, and they were right across from me. And it was like we had created this little harmonic oasis in this big crowded expo, and everybody would come. They'd get to our area and they'd be like, wow, the energy's so peaceful, it's so different here. And we were aware that we were working across the aisle with each other, and so they started coming over to me and they'd hold a bowl up to a seashell. Like they'd play the bowl first, and then they'd play the bowl with the seashell next to it, and it changed the sound and it changed the energy. And then we tried it putting seashells inside the bowls for the little ones, but I don't necessarily recommend putting it in the crystal bowl because maybe the vibrations might crack it. I'm not sure. So instead, we thought it was better to hold it next to the bowl, and it amplified the sound, it amplified the energies, and so we had the best time all weekend playing with this and just experimenting with different bowls and different shells, and Um, so seashells are really, really good for sound healing. I started doing something recently. Well, it happened during COVID, actually. I sing. I love to sing. And I was singing in two different singing groups. But the thing is that during COVID, that shut down because they thought singing was a dangerous thing for us to be doing. And these were older people in the groups that I sang with, and so they stopped. We didn't have rehearsal anymore for like 2 years. 2 years of no singing, and that's hard when you're a singer. And so of course I was singing around the house and I was singing in the shower, but I missed harmonizing with other people. And one day I was in the shower and this group of mermaids came in and they started singing with me and they were harmonizing with me, and they told me, they said, call in a seashell energy and sing through it. And I started singing this, you could call it light language, but I call it a love language because it's different than the regular light language that I speak. And so, anyway, I just started singing with them, and that became my own little private way to sing. I'd sing with the mermaids, and that way I had somebody to harmonize, and it was my own little secret. And I did that for like 2 or 3 years, just kept it to myself, something I was doing. It never occurred to me that I was going to do this for other people. I tend to be kind of shy, and to sing like by myself in front of people, even though I love to sing with a group, like I didn't know about that. But then one day I was giving a presentation somewhere and they just were pushing me to do it. The mermaids were coming through and they were like, sing, as I was talking about a shell, they were like, sing them the song of the shell. And so I started singing this mermaid song through the shell, and people were just, tears were streaming down their face. They went into such an altered state. It was so instant. And I got so much good feedback that I started incorporating that into my sessions, into a lot of the work that I'm doing now. And so that's a way that it's the frequency of the shell, and then you bring in the mermaids. Well, that's really fun. One more thing about seashells and harmonic resonance. If you are a singer, if you are a musician, the seashells can help you bring your music to a whole new level. They can help clarify the sound, amplify the sound, perfect the sound. And I had a woman who's an opera singer, and she studied with me, and I gave her specific seashells. She wanted to improve her voice. She already had a gorgeous voice. And so I taught her some things with the seashells, and her director wanted to know what was she doing differently, because he said she was singing better than she ever had before. And then for me, many times when I can remember to do it, when I'm in like regular muggle chorus singing, um, last night I did it. I was having trouble hitting the high notes. My voice was tired. I was having trouble getting those high notes. And then I remembered to call in the seashells. And I did. And all of a sudden, those notes were just ringing out so easily. It wasn't hard anymore. It sounded great. And so, for singers and musicians, seashells are your friend. That is Seashell Secret number 15. Seashell Secret number 16. Seashells are gentle and easy. They do not involve heavy processing. They are all about the energy of allowing. We talked about this earlier. For many of you, you may have been taught in the old paradigm way of teaching. So the old paradigm way of teaching was very, very harsh. It's the way that I was taught. Very harsh. And you kind of had to suffer in order to heal. You had to suffer in order to learn. You had to get a hard lesson in order to move to the next level. But that is not the way the seashells work. The seashells bring healing in the new paradigm energy, which is all about ease. They're joyful, they're easy, they're graceful. a friend of mine who does healing the old paradigm way, she's a world-renowned healer. And she looks at me and she's like, I don't know how you do what you do. She said, it's so fast. You just, like, you say, wave your hand and it's done. And they don't have to go through all the upheaval. It's just so easy. And that's because we're moving into the new paradigm. In the old paradigm, we weren't quite ready for this energy yet, but now we are. And the seashells really, they want to take their place in the world as the healers that they are. They want to be known. They get a little jealous of the crystals. They say, hey, they're getting all the attention. But we're the new healers. We're the ones that really, we can do it so fast and so easy. And so they do get a little jealous. But they are asking us all to help people know about the powers that they bring. So that is Seashell Secret number 16. Seashell Secret 17. Seashells are empowered by the sacred divine feminine. Very feminine energy with the seashells. They do not force, they do not manipulate. They open us up in a graceful, easy way, and they allow us to continue moving up and out and in. So I want you to think of a spiral. It starts in the center, right? And then it comes around, and it's, as it moves, it's like, think of a straight line, but instead of a straight line, it's got this curve, and the curve embodies everything. So it's always embodying the opposite energy. Like if we're here on the spiral and we move here, we're now encompassing the opposite end. I don't know if that really makes sense, but it's almost like the seashells are constantly hugging us, gathering us up into a bigger wave of energy, and a bigger wave of energy, and a bigger wave of energy. And in the process, they're pulling together all of the opposing forces, and everything is being harmonized. So that is a very feminine energy of inclusiveness, of allowing, of holding the space for the change to happen, versus that straight line arrow energy that's just trying to make something happen. So that is Seashell Secret number, what number are we on? Seashell Secret number 17. Seashell Secret 18. So now I'm going to tell you the story of how I started working with this energy, how I discovered the secrets of seashells. It started when I was a young child. I saw somebody at school had some seashells. They brought them for show and tell. And I went home and I begged for a seashell collection. And one of my neighbors overheard, and she presented me with this big brass treasure chest filled with seashells. And she gave them to me. I was maybe 4 years old. And it was my favorite thing to play with. It was all, forget Barbie dolls, forget the things that other kids were playing with. I wanted to play with those shells, and I would just spend hours gazing into them and wondering what it was like to be inside of there, to live inside of it, and what did it look like on the inside. And so this went on for years. I played with the shells. They were a comfort to me. My home life was very chaotic. My mother was she was mentally ill, and she was an alcoholic, and so things could get pretty scary, things could get pretty crazy. My dad was gone a lot, and those seashells, boy, I could tuck myself inside of a seashell. If my mom was screaming and acting crazy, I would just grab that shell, and it gave me comfort. And so that was my first work with seashells. I've always had seashells in my life. For some reason, it was like people saw something in me. I never talked about it. But over the years, people were always giving me jewelry that looked like seashells, or they would give me gifts of seashells. They'd give me their collection, say, I don't know why. People who didn't even know me would bring me this basket of seashells and say, I don't know why, but I was told that this is for you. And so that happened for many, many years. And then fast forward to 1997. And it was a day that my husband had recently left, and I had a young child. She was 5, and I didn't know how I was going to raise her by myself. I just didn't think I had what it took to be a single mom. But here I was in this situation, and that particular day, she almost drowned at summer camp. And I didn't know what to do. I'm like, oh my gosh, I send her to the best camp and she almost drowns. How am I going to keep this child safe? I don't know what I'm doing. Help. That was my prayer. Help. And I had this plastic glow in the dark rosary that a friend had brought back from Medjugorje, which is a pilgrimage site in Bosnia Herzegovina, where children were seeing apparitions of the Blessed Mother. The Blessed Mother Mary, her name, Mary, means of the sea. So the goddess of the sea helped me that day. And I wasn't even Catholic, but I knew the Hail Mary because I used to teach Catholic school. So I was saying the Hail Mary, playing with this rosary, not knowing the right way to do the rosary, but just asking for help because I figured Jesus was not an easy child to raise, and that maybe she would help me be a good single mother. And so here I am crying and praying. And the next thing I knew, sacred geometry was appearing in front of me and spinning and humming. And I didn't know what sacred geometry was. It just looked like these beautiful three-dimensional shapes were being beamed into the room. Now, this is without drugs, without alcohol, just a prayer. So these colored shapes are spinning, and I was getting mesmerized by them. I started to calm down. I just relaxed, and I'm watching this light show, not understanding what it is, but it was like I couldn't move, so I watched. And then it was like I was flying through space at warp speed, like Superman, no spaceship or anything, just flying through space, stars, planets, galaxies passing by at warp speed, like what you see on Star Trek when they go into warp drive. And then I was in these golden spirals of light, and I was spiraling in and spiraling out and spiraling in and spiraling out. And it was just such a lovely, safe, loving feeling. And as I was spiraling in and out, it was like all of the knowledge of the universe was flooding through me so fast in all different languages. And I was able to kind of catch the gist of some of it, but it was way too fast for me to hold on to all of it. But it was some kind of download, an energy download, some kind of initiation that was happening. And then I woke up. Now, I thought that it was maybe 20 minutes later when I woke up. But it was actually 3 full days later. 3 full days had gone by that I was in this state, being worked on by these golden spirals of light. And so so what happened after I woke up, I realized, first of all, 3 major things in my life were healed. 3 huge things. I didn't have any more pain in my body because I had severe fibromyalgia before that, but the pain was gone. I had very deep depression, and that was gone. And the reason I was praying in the first place, so now I will tell you my secret, is I used to cut my arms with razor blades. You can see the scars if you want to. I don't know why you would want to, but I was a cutter. That was my way of coping with stress. Not a good way, but it was what worked for me, and it was an addiction. And I was going to lose custody of my daughter if I kept doing it. And so that day when she almost drowned at summer camp, I wanted so badly to cut. That was my coping mechanism. That was how I calmed down. It was like it let the steam out somehow. That's what it felt like to me. It took the pressure off. Not a healthy way to do it, but that was just what back then, back in the day, that's what worked for me. But I couldn't do it anymore. So that's why I was praying to the Blessed Mother. I was saying, help me not cut. I'm going to lose custody if I do it again. Help me. And I woke up and I never wanted to cut again. So that was 3 huge healings that I got from whatever that experience was. So then I wanted to understand, what was that? What was that thing that happened that healed me? And so I went on a quest to try to understand, because I had no frame of reference for this. This is back in 1997. I really didn't have any understanding of what had happened. And the word shamanism kept coming up for me. Everywhere I turned, that word all of a sudden is like everywhere. It's on the radio, it's in a book I'm reading. I turn on the TV, they're talking about a shaman. I knew enough to know that when a word comes at me from all different angles, that it's something for me to pay attention to. So I started learning about shamanism. I went to a shaman. I started having sessions. She recommended some books. I read the books. I went and took a class with her teacher. And then I found other teachers. And I found a teacher who could teach me about those colored shapes that I saw. And so I stayed with her for over 20 years, learning all of the deep and high magic in her tradition, and also the psychic surgery techniques that she offered. That gave me a framework, that gave me an understanding. But the thing is, nothing I learned from all of those teachers that I studied with, none of it matched the energy of what I got in those 3 days. And I kept asking the universe, how can I tap into that energy? How do we bottle it? How do I replicate that? I want to help other people. I want to have other people have these miraculous healings. I want to help other people change their lives. How can I do it? I don't know how to get back there. So I kept asking. I kept asking. And whenever I'm going to make a big jump in ability and in consciousness, I tend to redecorate my house a little bit. Like, not big, but like I might move the furniture around, or I might get a new little accent piece or something that just shifts things. So I had just gotten this jar of seashells. I got it because I thought it was pretty. And I put it next to my bed. And this jar of seashells, I noticed that in the morning, because it was the first thing I saw when I woke up, and it was the last thing I saw before I went to sleep. So I would look at it, and it would like pull me in, and I'd just stare at it. And it would seem like maybe 5 minutes had gone by, and it's an hour later. And so now I started connecting the dots, because there were those golden spirals of light. And then when I look at these seashells, I end up in this altered state where time seems like it's just a little bit of time has gone by, but it's been like an hour. And I'm in this peaceful meditative state and feel altered afterwards. So that's when I figured out that there was something about the seashells, that they maybe were the key for how to tap in to that energy that had healed me. Now, once I had that realization, it was like the light bulb went off in my head. Once that happened, seashells started coming to me and telling me what they did. So they would come to me in my sleep. They'd come to me in dream time, and they'd say, I'm the seashell for grace. And then a big part, or I'm the seashell for forgiveness. I'm the seashell for love. So then my work involved some research, because I don't have a background in marine biology. I didn't know anything about the names of different seashells. I didn't know there were so many different types of seashells, honestly. But these shells would come in my dreams, and then I would have to research to see if I could find a shell that looked like the one that I had seen. Is there even a shell like that on Earth? And if so, what is it called, and how can I get one? And I started collecting these shells. Now, I live in Arkansas, which is landlocked, so I had to go fishing for seashells on the internet. But luckily, I was able to find all of the shells that came to me. I was able to find what their name was, and I was able to acquire one. Once I acquired the shell, I started playing with it, learning its energy. I'm a feeler, so I need to hold it in my hand to really, really understand it. And then I started working with my friends who are sensitive to energy, and they would give me really good feedback. And so every shell that I teach has gone through this process of me experimenting with it to make sure that it does what I think it does before I teach it. So at this point now, I'm up to over 300 different seashell energies that I work with, and I know more are coming. More are coming. So I don't know how many more we're going to have, but that's what we have right now. So that's the background of this work, and it really is the most powerful, easy form of healing and of magic. For me, it's the easiest way for accessing the higher dimensions, the easiest way for accessing higher realms and pulling the healing through, the easiest way for accessing Stargate energies. So that is Seashell Secret number 18, which is my personal secret. Seashell Secret 19. The seashells you find on the beach and the ones that you find in the shops, they carry a finite amount of energy. They carry as much energy as is in that physical form of the shell. That is just the tip of the iceberg. Now, you can do good healing with just the shells. Don't get me wrong. You can put them on your body. I like them to go face down with the opening toward me. And then you can twist them around to get the point of the shell to point whichever way you like the best. Go with what feels good. Go with what you like. You can play around with different placements. You can put them on different chakras. You can place it over a part of your body that wants some healing. So there's lots of ways to work with the physical shells. I see people online who are doing beautiful layouts with seashells, maybe combining crystals and seashells. That's a really great way to work. But again, that is just the tip of the iceberg. So from that 3-day Kundalini awakening experience that I had, I was given something. Something was put into me. Something was activated inside of me that allows me to stretch these spirals so big and so powerfully. And it also allows me to activate other people in this way. I do not fully understand how this works. I only know how to do it. I have learned how to teach other people how to do it. I have not yet learned how to teach other people how to teach teachers how to do it. So that's the next phase, I guess. But there's something that was given to me during those 3 days, and I know it's an energy that I didn't have before. It was something that was downloaded into me, and I have a way to activate people fully to the full power of the seashells. And so this is my favorite way of working with seashells, is I'd much rather activate you than just tell you. I mean, you can get, like, I do have a book that catalogs the energy of over 250, I think 215 different shells. And there may be another book coming, I'm not sure. So I do have a book, and it'll tell you what shell to use and what the energy of it is. And it also tells you which crystals go well with that shell. But I would much rather activate you, because then you're going to have much more energy to work with. And so that's what I do in the classes that I teach. And that's what I do in the sessions, the private sessions that I offer. And each person, of course, is going to come to this work at the level that they're ready to do it. So some people are just going to want a little bit, and it's going to be enough for them to just work with the shells off the beach. And then some people want to go really, really deep, and they end up doing the bigger trainings. So I'd always rather teach you how to fish than just give you a fish. And when I give you the activations, That is my way of teaching you how to fish. There's a different activation for each type of seashell. So there are over 300 different seashell activations, initiations, transmissions, attunements, whatever you want to call that. That is Seashell secret number 19. Seashell secret number 20. Often, when I give people the seashell activations, they start spiraling in their body, just like this. It happens all the time, not with everybody, but I have some clients when I give them the different seashell activations, the attunements, the initiations, that spiral goes so deep into them that they just start spiraling. I have one, she goes really fast. I have some that go slower. Sometimes they don't realize they're even doing it until I tell them to sit in front of a mirror and then look and see, and they're like, oh my God. I have one woman, she was doing such big, huge spirals and she couldn't stop. It lasted all weekend. She was spiraling around. Now, that was a funny story because she came to me and she said she really wanted to feel energy, that she was used to going to all of these different types of energy healing classes, and everybody else in the room would be like, ooh, I feel it, I see the energy, I hear it, and she was a knower, so she didn't ever feel. She wanted to feel, and she asked me, she said, can you teach me how to feel energy? And I was like, I don't know, let's just set that intention that will unfold for you as we're working together. And after the second session, she called me because I had told her to sit. I saw during the first session that she was doing these little spirals as I was working with her, and she couldn't feel it though. So I said, practice in front of the mirror, practice the technique I give you, because I always give a technique to go with the activations, and then you can call the energy in for yourself. So I said, practice in front of the mirror, and then you'll be able to see the spiral. So she practiced the next day she practiced in front of the mirror, and she called me and she's like, oh my God, I see it, but now it's getting bigger and bigger and I can't stop. And I'm doing these it's my whole body. And we both laughed. I said, well, you got what you asked for. You wanted to feel it. And she's like, yeah, but it won't stop. But I tuned in and I just saw that was the universe getting her attention. And they said it'll stop as soon as she has to go somewhere. And sure enough, as soon as she had to go, it stopped and she was able to go about the rest of her weekend. But that spiral just grabbed hold of her so powerfully, and it was palpable. And so that's the level of this work that I'm offering. It is way beyond just an idea of thinking about a seashell. It goes way beyond a visualization. It's more than what you can do with your mind alone. There's something about these energies that come through me that I'm able to transmit to you. It's what I was given during those 3 days. There's something about it that goes so deep at a cellular level, so deep into the body, that sometimes it grabs hold of people and just moves them. And it'll spiral them one way, and then it'll spiral them the other way. And again, like a big part of me doing this work is that I have to totally surrender and trust the process. And it's beyond my comprehension. I understand a little bit about it. Everything I'm telling you is my little bit of understanding, but there's something so much bigger that is at work here. And my job always is to get out of the way and to let it come through, and to let it come through for people so that then they can tap into it as well. So that is Seashell secret number 20. Seashell secret number 21. 21 and 22. It's going to be both of these together. 21 and 22 go together. This is very ancient work. And it's also cutting edge future work. So the more I worked with seashells, I started having memories of how we worked with seashells in the past. And in Lemuria, first of all, in Lemuria, we worked with seashells. we worked with them. We reached the healers, the seashell healers knew how to reach into the ocean, grab onto a seashell, and pull it out and lay it on the body of the person who needed healing. That person would lay on the beach, and the shell would be placed on them. And then when they were finished, they always gave the shell back to the ocean again. They didn't keep it, they gave it back. Now, what was really magical was that the people who really knew how to do this, they were so connected that they could reach into the ocean and they could grab a seashell that didn't even come from that ocean. They could summon it. They could summon it from another ocean. It was almost like there was a teleportation system that connected the different oceans. And when that healer had pure intention to help the person, and that person was open to the healing, then the healer would reach into the water and the correct shell would just come into their hand. And they would place it on the body and do the healing and then always give it back to the ocean. So that is how we did healing in Lemuria. Remember, Lemuria was a time where it was a very heart-centered time. It was the divine feminine ruled Lemuria, and it was all about being. It was a time of being and about opening the heart. That was the power of Lemuria. Now, we also worked with seashells in Atlantis. But in Atlantis, it was a different way of working with them. So in Atlantis was much more the masculine energy, the male-dominated energy, and it was more of a focus on magic, where Lemuria, there was a big focus on healing. In Atlantis, it was the focus on magic and manifesting. And in Atlantis, the way they worked with seashells, there were a couple different ways that I'm aware of. One of the ways they would study the shell, they would use the actual seashell just to learn its spiral. So the novices, they would have the seashells on display for the novices, so the novices could learn and memorize the spiral. And they had to learn how to have X-ray vision and learn how to see inside of the seashell to see the inner spiral as well. Once they understood that, they were taught a very special process of spinning that seashell into light. And then they didn't even need the actual physical shell anymore, because they could just summon, they could conjure up any seashell spiral they needed for any purpose. And they also created these structures that were like these spiraling metal sculptures that held different crystals and different seashells, and they made these spiraling, and they were three-dimensional, and they were these spiraling crystal and seashell arrays that were transmitters that were placed in strategic spots around on land. They were placed in these strategic spots, and they were like broadcasters, transmitters that sent that energy out to the whole community. And there were magicians the seashell magicians or seashell wizards, whatever you want to call them, they knew exactly what was needed, what energy was needed in which place, which shells, how to configure it, how to add the crystals, which crystals, how to face them. And it was this whole magical three-dimensional array. And they were there for everybody. And people didn't mess with them. They just appreciated them and benefited. They opened to the energy, and everybody was getting kind of like a healing. They were receiving healing, and they were receiving empowerment from this. So as I started working with seashells, really powerful psychics and healers were they were interested in my work. They would see me at expos, and they all said the same thing. Oh my God, this work, it's so connected to Lemuria and Atlantis. And I just kept getting that feedback over and over and over again. So I know that what I'm telling you, I mean, I remember, I can see it and I remember it. And in my Seashell Shaman class, I teach you a way for you to remember how you may have worked with seashells in past lives as well. So that kind of was both 21 and 22. 21 was how we did it in Lemuria. 22 was how we did it in Atlantis. And that brings me to the biggest secret of all, which really isn't a secret. It's just what I want you to know is the way that I teach the seashell work. I do it both ways. So I have created a set of medicine cards, and the medicine cards have the energies of the shells. My students kept telling me, they kept saying, there's something different about your shells. Your shells are different from the ones I have at home. Not just a different, like they could have the same type of shell, but they said there's something different about your shells. They glow, they vibrate, they buzz. When people pick them up, they feel the energy in them. When I go to expos, when I go to big like psychic fairs, I always bring seashells. I put them in little bags and I punch a hole in my business card and I give them out. And I'll have a goal of giving out like 1,500 in a weekend, you know, and I give these little shells out and I've activated the shells. I've worked with them. I've enhanced their energy so that it's a bigger energy than what you normally would have in that shell. And one time I got a call from a woman, because you know how when you go to an expo and you get a bag and you put all your brochures and all your little free samples and everything, they go in the bag, and then you go home and you shove the bag in the closet and you forget about it, right? Until the next time you need to use that bag. And so that's what had happened. This woman, she had gotten one of my shells. She never talked to me. She didn't hear me speak about it. She didn't know anything about it. I think somebody had handed it to her. It ended up in her bag. She put it in the closet. A year later, she's going through the bag and she finds this shell. And she called me because my number was on the card. And she said, "What did you do to this shell? And why is it buzzing and vibrating in my hand?" She wanted to know. And that was after being shoved in a closet for a year and ignored. And the energy was still going in it. So my students were noticing this about my seashells, that there was something different about them. And they kept asking me to make a set of cards and to photograph my shells with that extra energy in them. And they knew that from my shamanic training that I knew how to really pack the energy into an image, into something like that. You know, that was a big part of my training. And so they asked me to make this set of cards with the pictures of my shells, and so I did, and then it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And anyway, that's the way that you can connect if you get the medicine cards, because you take the cards, you put them on your body, you get the healing. And so with the medicine cards, also there's a way with the medicine cards that you can activate your shells as well, if you would rather activate the actual shell. And that you get instructions for how to do that when you order the cards. So that's the way that's how I kind of replicated how we worked with seashells in Lemuria, because you can take the deck of cards and it's like you're going fishing. You're fishing in the deck. Sometimes we do it from a place of complete surrender. I'm going to surrender and go fishing and see what card I need right now. And you place the card on the body and you get a healing, or you can put it under your pillow at night and you can get a healing. And somewhere on my website, there's a place where if you click the medicine card link, there's a place where you can get some sample cards that you can print out yourself, and you can play with them and see if you can feel the energy with them. Most people do. Then the other way is the activations that I give. That's how I replicate the way that we worked with seashells in Atlantis. I teach you how to spin the seashell into light, and that's what the activations do. And so then you don't need the actual shells anymore. You can still play with them if you like, but you don't need them. So that's my final. It's not really a secret, but that's the final thing that I want you to know, that there is so much available. The seashells, they really, really want to be known as the healers that they are. They want to be known for the energy that they carry, and it is the time on this planet for this work to really come forward. They say the crystals have gotten all the attention, but now it's time for the seashells to take their place among the crystalline kingdom. And so I want to thank you for taking this time to learn all of these secrets about seashells. And I encourage you to love a seashell today. Find a shell, love it, give it a hug. Put it somewhere where you can look at it. If you don't have a seashell, then pull up a picture. Go on my website. There's a bunch of really great pictures of my seashells on my website. Play with that energy, just bask in it and allow it to start opening you up. You can go as deep as you choose. You can do just a little bit, or you can go as deep as the whole ocean. I am sending you oceans of love and seashell blessings, and let's all just keep spiraling up. Let's all keep spiraling deep, and let's all keep spiraling wide.